All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Our good friend John Middlecoff goes off on Kyle Shanahan for how he played Brock Purdy last night. We will address it. We'll hit it next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out, so get there early. Get some brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And this video is brought to you as well by Sharp Corners, sports cards, and collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. My good friend Anthony Catania is the owner at 831-521-5264. Tell them that Krug sent you. And go check out Sharp Corners, sports cards, and collectibles. They go sidewalk sale the first Friday of every month in front of the store. So check it out throughout the warm summer months. All right, let's talk a little bit about my man, John Middlecoff, who's really a great guy. And Middlecoff is now with the volume. And he's got a hot take. It's a hot one. It's hot. John's coming in hot. All right. Let's listen to John. Here is 57 seconds of Middlecoff saying, Kyle, what the hell are you doing? You could have gotten this guy killed. Here's Middlecoff.
I can't defend Kyle on this one. He rolled out Brock Purdy with a bunch of second and third stringers, a bunch of guys that are not going to play against the New York Jets come week one, a bunch of guys who are not legitimately not players. I mean, will not be on the 53 potentially against the Saints, who I think are going to have one of the better defenses in the league. And we're rolling out their starters. What the hell are you doing? That is insanity to roll out Purdy against one of the best defenses with randos. You could have got the guy killed. You almost did. He was getting peppered every play. And then Purdy's running around trying to play hero ball. How does that make any sense? Even on the flip side, Dennis Allen, we're going to play our guys. Who does Derek roll out with? I don't know. Chris Olave, Taysom Hill, guys that he's going to play with in week one. And this is the reason Kyle Shanahan can't get everyone behind him.
All right, there you go. The great John Middlecoff. He's a good follow on Twitter at John Middlecoff. On X. And The Volume. The Volume is a great follow on Twitter as well. And you can find his little video on Brock Purdy at The Volume Sports on X. So I think Middlecoff is awesome. He's a former scout for the Eagles. He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. I've had him on the show, full disclosure. He used to live here in Walnut Creek. Good dude. We're friends. And I think he really knows football, and I respect his football opinion immensely. And I think Kyle has lots of things that you can criticize. I'm not one of these people like everything Kyle does and then work back from there trying to make sense of what the Niners should do and just, constantly in lockstep with Kyle because you're just, he can't do anything wrong because you're just constantly agreeing with him. I'm not in that category, but I also know that Kyle Shanahan's one of the great offensive coaches in the NFL today. And he's very accomplished. And if the Niners fired him, there'd be like 5 teams that would fire their college or pro head coach and try to hire him. So he's, I do understand the frustration because the Niners have gotten close to the Super Bowl and they haven't won it. And when that happens, you get a lot of frustrated fans and a lot of pissed off people. And that's where we're at. But I also see Kyle Shanahan the way I saw Andy Reid in Philly. Great coach, just never had the best team. He had McNabb going against Brady. Kyle's had Garoppolo and Purdy going against Mahomes. When Kyle has the best team, eventually he'll win. But I love Middlecoff, and I do think Kyle has lots of faults. I think he's a great coach, but I think he has lots of faults. But for him to play his starting quarterback for what's going to amount to 3 series in a 3-game preseason that's not a judgment error. And the bottom line is, what if you never have a full complement of offensive linemen? There's no law that says that you have to have a preseason game where all 5 of your offensive linemen that you're going to play in week 1 are ready to go. So why not? I mean, this is the second of the 3 preseason games. If you take all of this away and back away and get some perspective and just talk about this without the emotion of the moment and just say, okay, you got 3 preseason games in the summertime. How do you want to divvy it up? How much do you want your regulars to play? Well, in the 4 preseason game schedule, NFL coaches kind of collectively decided that third preseason game would be like their real final dress rehearsal. And then the 4th one's just for guys who aren't going to be on the team. So that's kind of how the way it went. Now that they're with 3, they play they sit some guys in the first one, they sit some guys in the third one, and they use that second one as the dress rehearsal. So I got no problem in the one dress rehearsal preseason action that Brock Purdy played 3 freaking series. I think John's losing his mind here. The Niners had 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen all starting in front of him. They didn't throw him out there with the 2s and the 3s and the 4s and guys who were going to be plumbers. They had 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. Brendel started at center. Pooney started at right guard. McKivitz started at right tackle. That's what you're going to have in week 1. You didn't have Banks because he's got the pinky break, so they're giving him a couple-week break. And obviously you got Trent with the holdout. So you got 3/5 of your starting O-linemen. And next week, it's not like you may not have Banks or Trent next week either. So they want to play their regulars this week. And so they played Brock Purdy behind 3/5 of their starting O-line. And he, in 3 series, was pressured. I watched the whole thing. I watched it again right before I came on here to just make sure I knew what the hell I was talking about. He was pressured 3 times. He was not pressured about 5 times. He took a couple of minor hits. It was basically 50-50 run pass. It was nothing extraordinary. None of the hits on him were particularly hard. He got pushed down once. The other one was really ticky-tack, hardly any contact at all. So, I mean, I get it. I mean, you don't want to subject your starting quarterback to hits. But, John, you might want to watch the film and watch those hits. He wasn't getting battered. This guy may have been touched on 3 plays. He played whatever he played, 10 plays or whatever. He may have been touched on 3 plays. He took 0 hard shots. He had one guy kind of hurl him to the ground. Even that contact is totally par for the course for an NFL quarterback. It wasn't like they put him in harm's way, and it wasn't like the Super Bowl where the Chiefs had all these running starts at him. It wasn't like that at all. He barely was hit at all. I just watched it. I just watched the whole thing. He was in there for 3 series. He took maybe 3 he maybe contacted the defense 3 times. 2 of the times it was nothing. One time the guy kind of picked him up and threw him down to the ground. It wasn't ideal, but it wasn't the end of the world. And Brock Purdy's 6'2", 230. And you got, it's football, baby. It's going to be rough. And, get ready to play it by sitting inside and talking about it, or get ready to play it by subjecting yourself to real life stuff. And I'm sure Brock was given his choice and he said, get me out there. I want to play. So I don't think Shanahan made a mistake by playing him. They didn't play him a lot. He didn't take a bunch of hits. This really dialed up drama about how terrible this was is such over the top melodrama. I mean, he is your starting quarterback. He's 24 years old. He's in the prime of his career. You're going to play your starting quarterback a little in the preseason. There's 3 games. I don't think he didn't play in the first game. I don't think he's going to play in that 3rd game against the Raiders. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the 40. What happened? Why is John Middlecoff losing his mind? Because the 49ers played Brock Purdy 3 series in the 2nd preseason game when they only had 3/5 of their starting lineup out there and they didn't have a lot of their weapons. Okay, so he threw it away. It wasn't that productive. But I mean, what's the alternative? He doesn't play from the Super Bowl of February 11th. That's his last game action before week 1 against the Jets. Is that ideal? No. So you knew he was going to play, and then it's just a matter of what game do you want him to play in. I'm sure Shanahan decided 2.5 months ago that he was going to play in this 2nd game. And yeah, it wasn't ideal. Didn't have Trent there. Didn't have Banks there. Wasn't ideal. But guess what? they're not going to have those guys next week either, probably. And you may never have an ideal situation. And Brock Purdy's got to get ready to play the Jets in week one. And he needs to work on his timing. And guess what? If he's not going to have Trent and he's not going to have Ayuk, there's going to be some challenges. So he should get ready to run around. And maybe running around behind this line, running for his life, is exactly what he needs to do to practice for the regular season, because that may be what the first month of the regular season looks like. All the more reason to put him out there. So I get it. Everybody wants a bubble wrap everybody. And I love the McVay game plan of don't put your money on the field till week one. I love it. I love that plan, because then you guarantee week one you got all your players and you don't lose anybody. But if Brock Purdy, offensive football is so much different than defensive football. Defensive football, I just want healthy bodies that are fresh and know the defense so they can run around and run and hit and really, use their physical energy. Offensive football is about cohesion and rep. It smooths out and it gets better with reps over time. Guys, you need a quarterback in his his relationship with his wide receivers and tight ends matter. That matters a lot. And the timing, and are they all on the same page? That all matters so much. So anyway, in my opinion, I understand the McVay don't play the starters at all. And I kind of like that. But that's not the way Kyle does it. And I don't blame Brock for wanting to play in this game. I don't blame Kyle for playing him. And after watching it and watching the abuse that he supposedly took, I don't think it was that bad. I really don't. I think to make it a bigger deal than that is, as I said, making it a bigger deal than it really was. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueger Show. Thanks to our good friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krueger Show on YouTube.